Alright, buckle up, because this story still messes with my head. I never thought I'd be the guy to write one of these stories, but here I am. My name's Adam, and I've been married to Jessica for 5 years. She's gorgeous, smart, and, well, I thought we were solid. I mean, sure, she was always a bit standoffish with my Labrador, Max, but I figured not everyone bonds with animals the same way. We got Max when I was 12, and we grew up together. He's more than just a dog to me, he's family. Of course, when I got married, Max came with me. Jessica never really loved Max. She treated him like he was just some dirty old mutt, never giving him attention unless she had to. Still, I brushed it off, thinking maybe she just wasn't a dog person. We had our usual ups and downs, but nothing major, or so I thought. Things started to get weird a few months ago. Jessica became even more distant, always on her phone, going out with friends more often, and just giving off this cold vibe. I ignored it at first, thinking maybe work was stressing her out. But the real trouble hit when I came home one day to find Max acting sick, barely moving and whining like I'd never heard before. I rushed him to the vet, heart racing. The vet did some tests and told me Max had been poisoned. Poisoned. My heart sank. Who the hell would do that to my dog? He never left my side, and I certainly didn't give him anything dangerous. The vet saved him, thank God, but then they told me something that made my blood run cold. They found traces of a specific substance, a substance that wasn't just some random accident. This was deliberate. At first, I didn't want to believe what my gut was screaming, Jessica. But I couldn't shake the suspicion, and that's when everything started unraveling. After Max got better, I couldn't let it go. Every time I looked at Jessica, something felt off. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. I mean, how could my wife, the woman I married, do something like that to my dog? But the more I thought about it, the more things didn't add up. Why did she always act so irritated when Max was around? Why had she been so cold lately? And why was she spending so much time away from home? Then, one day when Jessica was at work, I couldn't take it anymore. I searched the entire apartment, desperate to find some kind of clue. And sure enough, tucked away in the back of her closet, I found it, a bottle of the same substance the vet said had poisoned Max. I was staring at solid proof that she had done this. My mind was spinning, but I wasn't even close to prepared for what came next. I have a buddy, Mike, who's an IT genius. I told him everything, and he offered to help hack into Jessica's email and messages. I know, it was shady, but at this point, I needed answers. Mike worked his magic, and a few hours later, I had access to her inbox. What I found in there shattered me. There were emails between Jessica and some guy named Greg. From what I could gather, they'd been seeing each other for months, maybe longer. But that wasn't the worst part. Oh no, the worst part was reading how they'd been talking about Max. Turns out Greg was allergic to dogs, and they were plotting to get rid of the problem. The problem being my best friend. My freaking dog. My hands were shaking as I read their messages, talking about how uncomfortable Greg felt at our place because of Max, and how Jessica had already tried something to make him sick. My stomach turned. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about someone I loved deliberately trying to hurt Max just so her lover could feel more at home in my house. I couldn't believe it. I was furious, heartbroken, disgusted, every emotion you can think of, I was feeling it. I saved all the emails, every piece of evidence. I had to be smart about this, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about her cheating anymore. Jessica had crossed a line, and I was going to make damn sure she regretted it. The night I decided to confront Jessica was one of the longest nights of my life. I'd been rehearsing what to say over and over in my head, trying to stay calm, but every time I pictured her face, I just got angrier. When she came home from work that evening, acting like everything was normal, I couldn't take it anymore. I sat her down in the living room and, without any build-up, I just came out with it. I know what you did to Mac. Her face went pale, and for a second, I thought she was going to deny it. But instead, she gave me this blank stare, like she was waiting to see how much I knew. So I kept going. I know about the poison. I found it in your closet. And I know about Greg. That's when it happened. She broke. But not in the way you'd expect. She didn't cry or apologize. No, she laughed. This cold, cruel laugh, like the whole thing was a joke. Well, I guess you're smarter than I thought, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "What, did you think we were going to keep living with that filthy dog forever?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was ready for lies, for excuses, but the way she just admitted everything so casually threw me off balance. "You were going to kill him?" I asked, my voice rising. "For some guy. For Greg." She rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic. "Greg's allergic, Adam. It's not like I was trying to hurt you. But the dog had to go. I thought you'd eventually get over it." Get over it? My blood was boiling. I stood up, pacing the room, trying to keep my composure. "And the affair?" I asked. "How long has this been going on?" She shrugged, like it didn't even matter. "A year, maybe. What difference does it make? It's not like you've been around much either." I couldn't even process the level of manipulation she was throwing at me. The woman I thought I knew had been lying to my face for over a year, trying to kill my dog, and was now acting like I was the problem. "Jessica," I said, my voice barely steady, "you're a monster." She didn't even flinch. "Look, Adam, this isn't working. You know it, I know it. Let's just end this. You can keep your dog, I'll move in with Greg. Everyone wins." Everyone wins? That was her solution. Just like that, she was ready to throw away our marriage, our life together, like it was nothing. In that moment, I knew there was no saving this, and honestly, I didn't want to. After she said, "Everyone wins," something inside me snapped. It wasn't just anger anymore, it was this deep, hollow ache in my chest. I felt betrayed on every possible level. This wasn't just my wife cheating on me, this was the woman I had trusted with my heart, my life, and my family. And she didn't care. She didn't care about the years we'd spent together, about me, and certainly not about Max. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just stood there, staring at her, trying to make sense of it all. How did I not see this coming? Was I blind, or had she been that good at hiding it? All the moments I thought were small signs, her being on her phone more, the cold way she'd brush Max off, her late nights with friends, it all suddenly hit me like a freight train. I wasn't enough for her, and that stung more than anything. I had tried to be a good husband. Sure, maybe I wasn't perfect, but who is? I worked hard, I provided for us, I loved her the best way I knew how. But it was never enough. Not for Jessica. And that realization broke me. I sat down, feeling the weight of everything. Max came over and rested his head on my knee, as if he knew what was happening. I scratched behind his ears, thankful he was still here with me. At least I hadn't lost him too. Jessica, though, she was already lost. "How long were you planning this?" I finally asked, my voice sounding far away, even to me. She sighed, almost annoyed by the question. "Adam, stop being so dramatic. It's not like I planned to hurt you. Things just happened. I met Greg, we clicked, and well, I didn't think this was working for a while now." "Did you ever love me?" I asked, genuinely wanting to know. She hesitated, and that pause told me everything I needed to hear. "I loved you once," she said, and then added, "but things change. Things change." That's all she had to say for herself. My heart felt like it was shattering into a million pieces. I felt stupid, humiliated, but most of all, angry. Angry that she had made me question myself, angry that she had betrayed me in the most gut-wrenching way possible, and angry that she had almost killed Max, the one living thing that had been loyal to me through all of this. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake in bed, next to the woman who had ripped my heart out, while Max curled up at my feet. My mind was racing with thoughts, trying to process the flood of emotions crashing over me. The sadness, the anger, the betrayal, it was all too much. I realized then that there was no going back. No fixing this. Jessica had crossed every line, and I couldn't look at her without feeling disgust. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity that I didn't have the night before. It was like the weight of all the pain had finally crushed me enough to push me into action. I wasn't going to let her have the satisfaction of tearing me apart any longer. Jessica had made her choices, and now it was my turn to make mine. As she got ready for work, acting like everything was normal, I sat at the kitchen table, watching her every move. She didn't even seem bothered. Not a single hint of remorse or regret. I think that was what solidified my decision. I couldn't be with someone who didn't have the basic decency to feel guilty for what she had done. Not to me, and certainly not to Max. When she was about to leave, I stopped her at the door. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, my voice firm, leaving no room for argument. She blinked at me, surprised for the first time since all of this started. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. You need to get your things and leave. You can stay with Greg for all I care, but you're not welcome here anymore." I expected a fight, maybe some pleading, or at least a scene. But no. She just sighed, like I was inconveniencing her. "Fine. I'll come back tonight to get my stuff." That was it. 5 years of marriage, thrown away like it was nothing. She walked out the door without even looking back. I sat there for a moment, stunned by how easy it was for her. Then, I got up and made the call to my lawyer. It was time to get this process started. After that, I gathered all the evidence I had, screenshots of the messages, the vet's report, the poison I found in her closet. I wasn't just divorcing her, I was going to make sure she paid for everything. She wasn't going to get away with trying to kill Max, or with the way she betrayed me so casually. I wasn't going to let her leave without consequences. That evening, when Jessica came back to pack up her things, I didn't say much. She moved around the house like a stranger, collecting her clothes and essentials without a word. Greg pulled up in his car outside, honking for her like some teenage boy picking up his date. The sight of him made my blood boil, but I wasn't going to give either of them the satisfaction of seeing me lose my cool. When she was finally ready to leave, she turned to me one last time. "This is for the best, Adam," she said, like she was doing me some kind of favor. "Get out," I said, my voice flat. And she did. She walked out of our house, out of my life, and into Greg's car without a second glance. I watched them drive away, my stomach churning with a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. It was over. The woman who I once thought was my future was gone, and all I had left was Max, my best friend, who had almost been taken from me too. But at least I still had him. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I filed for divorce, cut off all communication with Jessica, and leaned on my friends and family for support. I'll be honest, it was rough. There were days when the anger bubbled up, and other days when I couldn't shake the sadness. It's not easy letting go of someone you thought you'd spend your life with, even when they turn out to be a complete monster. But the one constant through it all was Max. He stayed by my side, always there with his big brown eyes, reminding me that loyalty and love do exist, even when people fail you. He was my anchor, the one thing that kept me from spiraling completely. Every time I looked at him, I was grateful that I didn't lose him too. It wasn't just about saving Max anymore, it was about saving myself from the toxic relationship I had been blind to for so long. The divorce was finalized quicker than I expected. Jessica didn't even try to fight it. She and Greg moved in together, and from what I hear, their little romance is already crumbling under the weight of their own selfishness. Not that I care anymore. She's out of my life, and I'm better for it. If there's one thing this whole experience taught me, it's that you can't ignore the signs. I let things slide for too long, making excuses for Jessica's coldness, her distance, and her total lack of interest in Max. I wanted to believe in the best version of her, the one I fell in love with years ago. But that version of her didn't exist anymore. Maybe it never did. Looking back, I'm actually grateful for what happened. It opened my eyes to the truth and gave me the chance to move on with my life before it was too late. I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't found out about the poison or the affair, but I do know that I'm in a better place now. And I have Max to thank for that. So, for anyone reading this who's going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags, and don't be afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't value you. People like Jessica will never change, and staying with them will only drain you in the long run. It's better to be alone than to be with someone who's willing to hurt you, and in my case, hurt your best friend, just to make themselves comfortable. Now, it's just me and Max. We're starting fresh, and honestly, it feels damn good to have my life back. The road ahead might be uncertain, but at least it's mine. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.